Our next speaker is Tamás Georgadze, who is founder of Raisin, who is actually second time speaking at Startup Grind, right? Please, let's start with a brief intro about the Raisin. What is the company doing and which markets you are in?
Hi. So Raisin is, we are creating marketplaces or marketplace functionality for a very simple product, which is savings. What we do, we connect banks in the back end and give clients either direct access through our marketplace to currently 88 different providers in different countries, or we do it also through third parties. So we have also an API which third-party financial providers are using to give their customers actually a marketplace experience for the savings products. So that's our first vertical, but we're doing more than that because we're evolving the company into a provider which gives you best one-stop shop experience for both savings and investments, so that in our core market, Germany, we have also two further verticals. One is investment portfolios, which we do together with Vanguard, and the second one is we acquired a pension provider. So we do savings, investments, pensions, currently in a single market. The marketplace on the savings side we do across Europe. We have 9 active markets, the main markets being Germany, the UK, Spain, Netherlands, France, Ireland, Austria, and so on. And we're launching in the US in the next year.
Yeah. So yeah, actually you touched 2 interesting points. So first, why did you decide to start from Europe? What is so specific for this market, for this area?
So, so I lived in Berlin, so that's very simple. That's why I started in Europe. I think for our product, there are several factors which influence it. So people ask me like how to choose the right market for a marketplace offering, and the best market is where you have a lot of providers. So Europe has 5,000 different banks. So that a lot of providers is good for marketplace business, means that you can give to the consumer an offer which is much, much better than what he has currently, with a very high probability. The second market which we're launching is the US. US has 6,000 providers. So that's the more providers you have, the better. Is Georgia a good market for a marketplace for savings? I'm not so sure because there are only very few providers in the market. So that's first factor which we're looking at, how many providers are there, because it's a variable which indicates you how better an offer you will give to the customer than his current one.
Okay. You are also the member of board in Bank of Georgia, so you also know how local market works, how banks think here. What do you think, would these same regulations and would the same standard come to Georgia, and should we also go to that stage where we have open banking standard and banks are more open to actually partnering up with fintech companies?
Yeah. No, I think, so the good thing about this market is it's actually for a small market, it's pretty developed. So the functionality customers get are really good and on par with the leading markets outside of Georgia. And also the banks are very, very fast in developing and implementing. So I know both TBC and Bank of Georgia from my past. So whatever TBC does, Bank of Georgia is probably prepared 1 month later to roll out the same feature, and whatever Bank of Georgia does, TBC has it 1 month later. So that the banks are very, very fast in iterating, which is good. So what I think is on such a small market, actually the good thing is you can involve the players much easier than on large markets. So that in Germany, for example, you have 2,000 banks, it's impossible to align with them regulation or even account standards or account access standards. So that whatever they do is on purpose or not on purpose, but not really aligned and rolled out nicely. So that I think here's an opportunity where the regulator can really sit down with 4 or 5 leading banks and talk with them, like what is the objective of that particular regulation and how to implement it jointly so that it becomes a better experience for the customer and not the worst one. So that's easy and good. I think also on the bank side, all of them are looking out for good ideas and for good teams. So they are open for business and open for partnership. And if they see an opportunity, that's a great opportunity for them. And they have units like yours which are working on partnerships. I would say still this is not an ideal market for a startup because you have very few large players who can flex the muscles. You have a very specific closed market, which is not transposable neither by language, nor by regulation, nor by passporting rules, so no access to the outside world, so that if you are a startup, you might not be in the best environment to launch here.
But do you think this could work for the testing stage, where you want to validate your idea? Gilles also mentioned, even though we are small, and you added on this, that we have few partners and it's easy to reach out to them. Does this mean that it's good for startups to actually test the idea here, find out the first mistakes, first feedback, and then go to other markets?
No, I think that's very good, and it's a very good approach. So I will give you an example on our side of the bank partnerships which worked and which didn't work. So what doesn't work definitely, so I mentioned one of our partners is, for example, BBVA. We worked on that partnership for more than 2 years. I never said it publicly in a room, so please do not quote it, but complete failure on both sides. We over-invested resources. CEO of BBVA was personally involved, and we helped them write their first contract on Open API partnership, so did a big announcement on our side, big announcement on their side. We're on their website still the only Connect partner they have worldwide. So big effort and a lot of resources, like complete failure. So I think we have almost no business jointly. We have two partners which are both startup partners. Both of them have licenses. It's N26 and it's Scalable Capital, and both partnerships are growing great. Why is it so? Because they are more open-minded, faster, they're more digital, and they can implement things and iterate with us much faster than BBVA can do. Because for BBVA, our opportunity is a tiny one, so it's not even in the P&L, or they cannot even mention it. For Scalable, they can become quickly 10 or 20% of their business. So we are much more relevant for them than for much larger players. So that if you find a partner, and I think like all banks in Georgia are fast enough to iterate and to implement things, a partner who can really develop with you together a product, that's a very good testing ground, with having in mind that the ultimate rollout field will not be Georgia. Because I think it also allows banks in Georgia, if they know you're building jointly a business model where the ultimate consumers, be it banks or clients, will be outside of Georgia, it makes the product also less competitive for them. So that in their mindset, so Bank of Georgia would of course partner and invest if they know that same feature will not be 1 month later at TBC and 2 months later at Liberty and so on, but the same feature you're developing jointly to have it really rolled out, like, I don't know, in the region, across the world and so on, so that your ambition gets much to a higher level. I think with this type of thinking, this is a very good market because you have fast banks and also consumers who are open for new features and for testing and for endorsing fast. I think the last thing is I also know a couple of startups in Georgia, and some of them are trying exactly to do that. When you go to the outside countries, find the like-minded. So do not go to the largest bank or the incumbent number one in Eastern Europe, because those are typically also slow-moving things, but go to digital banks, go to Tinkoff, go to Airbank, go to guys who are iterating fast as well, because they will have the same interest and the same incentive, same thinking as you have.
My next question will be very technical, but I'm sure this is one of the questions that those startups who are in fintech area have in mind. So you mentioned Revolut, N26, all these companies that, of course, you need to approach. What is your suggestion and advice in the ways of approaching them? I mean, technically, how to find them, where to find them, and how to approach them, how to pitch to them?
Oh yeah, that's a very good question. So first thing is, like really funny anecdote. Actually, all of those people started their project outside of their home country. So Revolut, it's actually Nikolai, who is a Russian, who started in the UK, and the product is not available in Russia. and N26 are two Austrians who started in Germany as the first market. So they always went for a much larger and much bigger market than their home country, so that it might be a learning for Georgians to go out and try.
You didn't start in Georgia, you started
I
in
didn't
Europe.
start in Georgia, I started also in Germany. My product also not available in Georgia. So that when you're in a small country, you have two choices. First is stay there and iterate and try, or second one, if you have the energy and balls and everything, then go out and try it in a much bigger market. So probably the success, if it comes, is much bigger than... So how to approach Revolut, N26 and all the others? I think there are two ways. One is to have a very good product yourself, and then they will come. So that's our approach. We have in all the markets where we are, we have the best savings product, and more or less those guys and others and incumbents come and say, how can we build? So if you have a very good product already, that's easy, because it attracts also partners itself. The second one is you do not have a good product, but you have an idea or a feature. That's a bit too early to approach them, because you need someone like less risky environment and less dynamic environment, which is challenging for you. So that you need one partner whom you allow to co-invest, to learn as well. So like, I don't know, can be fintech partnership, can be a payment app, can be something different, who are more also on learning and early stage, or a much smaller bank. So our first experiences in the first 2-3 years were very small banks who like really needed some innovation, who really needed a learning and test ground. So once you have done through that and have a good product, I think the best way is to grab those guys, so to go to a conference, to stalk Valentin or Nikolai after the stage when he talks, and to try to get his attention and to show the product. Because at the end, those startup companies are really founder-led. So that it's still small enough so that they know like which features they're doing and what product are they doing, so that the decision whether it comes into the rollout or not is more or less driven by the founder. So get their attention.